So, yeah.
But I guess.
But look,
do you have any regrets buying Twitter?
I think it was something that needed to be done.
I mean, you said
it's
earlier
quite
that
difficult, you know. I'd say that the pain level of Twitter has been extremely high. This hasn't been some sort of party, so it's been really quite a stressful situation, you know, for the last several months. Not an easy one. But apart from the pain, I mean, so it's been quite painful. But I think at the end of the day, it should have been done. I think. Were there many mistakes made along the way? Of course, you know, but you know, all's well that ends well, and so I feel like we're headed to a good place. You know, we're roughly break even. I think we're trending towards being cash flow positive very soon, like literally in a matter of months. The advertisers are returning. I think the quality of recommended tweets has improved significantly, and we've taken a lot of feedback from people that have looked at the open source recommendation algorithm, and we've made a lot of improvements even since that was made open source, and we're going to keep doing that. So overall, I think the trend is very good. So, you know.
I mean, it was actually something I was going to ask you. You mentioned the pain, but you actually tweeted. I think in February you said the last 3 months have been extremely tough. I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone. Are you talking emotionally there? I mean,
yeah.
Can you explain?
I wasn't stabbed or anything.
Right.
Like some people around here, it's just dangerous neck of the woods we're in.
It is, or it can be. But can you just talk me through the emotional strain of this?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been under constant attack. I mean, it's not like I, you know, have a stone cold heart or something like that. You know, if you're under constant criticism and attack, and then that gets fed to you nonstop, including through Twitter, it's rough. You know. Now, at the end of the day, I kind of think that like if you do lose your feedback loop, that's actually not good. So, you know, so I think it is actually important to get negative feedback. I don't turn replies off, and I actually I removed my entire block list, so I don't block anyone either. So somebody can, you know, so I get like a lot of negative feedback. But I think it's actually good to get negative feedback.
Right. When you talk about the emotional strain, you've gone back to feedback. Is that the thing that's been most difficult to take, the sort of negative feedback?
Yeah, I mean, if the media is writing non-stop stories about why you're a horrible person, I mean, you know, it's hurtful. Obviously.
I'm interested. I've written down a lot of these questions, but I haven't written this one down. But it's interesting. It feels like you have quite a kind of interesting relationship with the media, because in some ways you're quite skeptical, quite critical, certainly of established media, but also you kind of get hurt by what the media writes, and you seem to. You do get your news still from the BBC, as you've already said. So
I literally follow the BBC on Twitter.
So do you feel you have a kind of odd relationship with the media?
Yes.
Go on, explain.
No, it is somewhat of a love-hate relationship, although, I mean, it might be tilted a bit more towards the hate. But, you know, it's you know, I think that this is sort of part and parcel of having a free media situation, which is that you know, I do take heart in that the media is actually able to trash me on a regular basis in the United States, in the UK, and whatnot. Whereas, you know, in a lot of other places, the media cannot say mean things to powerful people.
Okay.
But I think it's better that we have a situation where the media can say mean things to powerful people.
If we're talking about the media, let's talk about verification labels. You obviously want to create another revenue stream that's subscription-based. Is verification the way to do that? Because we have a kind of a situation at the moment where the New York Times doesn't have a verified badge, whereas anyone else who can pay whatever few bucks a month can. Can that be right? Is that what you envisaged when you bought Twitter?
I must confess to some delight in removing the verified badge from the New York Times. That was great. Anyway, they're still alive and well, so they're doing fine.
But on a serious note, it could flame disinformation again if you have verified accounts that are from anyone who can pay money. They go up to potentially the top of feeds. They get more action on Twitter, and traditional media that may not pay for verification doesn't. Do you see how that could potentially be a driver of misinformation?
Well, I mean, I think the media is a driver of misinformation much more than the media would like to admit that they are.
I mean, that's a different question.
Yeah, but you are sort of saying like who knows best, the average citizen or someone who is a journalist. And I think in a lot of cases it is the average citizen that knows more than the journalist. In fact, I mean, very often when I see an article about something that I know a lot about, and I read the article, and it's like they get a lot wrong. Sort of the best interpretation is it's someone who doesn't really understand what's going on in industry, has only a few facts to play with, has to come up with an article. It's going to be, it's not going to hit the bullseye. So then, like, generally, this is how I explain this to other people. If you read an article about something you know about, how accurate is that article? Now, imagine that is how essentially all articles are. They're an approximation of what's going on, but not an exact situation. So if somebody is actually, let's say, in the fray, or like an expert in the field, and was actually there, and writes about their experience of being actually there, I think that actually that's in a lot of cases going to be better than a journalist, because the journalist wasn't there.
I think you said the legacy verified blue ticks are going to go next week. There have been a few deadlines on this.
420.
Yeah, I see the joke.
That number will never leave me.
I clearly.
It
cost you a lot of money.
Well, fortunately, it didn't in the trial.
Well, yeah, right, but for the SEC, right?
Yes, we're going to ask for a refund.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good luck. Let's move on from that. But blue ticks, in theory, all legacy blue ticks gone next week, and at that point you'll kind of work out whether this is going to sink or swim.
Yes.
What's your hunch? I mean, you've obviously.
I think it's going to swim.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll swim just fine.
Okay. What are you looking for in terms of a revenue stream on that? What are your goals?
Well, I don't know if it's like necessarily a giant revenue stream. Because even if you have sort of 1 million people that are subscribed for, let's say, $100 a year ish, that's $100 million. And that's a fairly small revenue stream relative to advertising. But what we're really trying to do here with verification is to massively raise the cost of disinformation and bots in general. So my prediction is that any social media company that does not insist on paid verification will simply be overwhelmed by advanced AI bots. I mean, ChatGPT is essentially a zillion instances of ChatGPT. How do you even know?
Is that really what you want on the platform? Do you want big news organizations being overwhelmed by bots so that they have to pay you some money?
No, the point is that you won't be.
If you pay. But a lot of organizations have already said they're not going to pay, like the New York Times.
Well, then, that's up to them if they, can make them pay. It's a small amount of money, so I don't know what their problem is. But we're going to treat everyone equally. So what we're not going to do is say that there's some anointed class of journalists who are the special ones who get to tell everyone what they should think. That it should be up to the people what they think. And even if an article is completely accurate and comprehensive and everything, there's still in writing that article, the media is choosing the narrative. They're deciding what to write an article about. So I'm hopeful that this can be more a case of the public choosing the narrative as opposed to the media choosing the narrative. But the media can choose the narrative, at least a combination of the media and the public choosing the narrative. And the public getting to weigh in on stories if they think that they should add something to it, or we got something wrong. And over time, I think if Twitter is the best source of truth, it will succeed. And if we are not the best source of truth, we will fail.
Someone comes in and offers you $44 billion for Twitter right now. Would you take it?
No.
Would you consider it?
No.
Why?
Well, I take it back. It depends on who. I suppose if I was confident that they would pursue, they would rigorously pursue the truth, then I guess I would be glad to hand it off to someone else. I don't care about the money really, but I do want to have some source of truth that I can count on, and I hope that's our aspiration with Twitter, is to have a source of truth that you can count on. It's also real time. It's an immediate source of truth that you can count on, and that gets more accurate with time as people comment on a particular thing.
Well, if you don't care about the money, you could just give it to someone that you think is a good person to run Twitter.
Who do you think that might be?
I'm not the boss of Twitter.
No, but you might still have an idea.
Who could run Twitter?
Yes.
Honestly, I have no idea who could run Twitter.
Yeah, it's a hard job.